Now, like lasagna, the best part of a baked ziti is the crispy edges. Usually you bake a lasagna or a ziti in something like this, a baking dish. But look at this thing. Only 4 corners? Get the out of here with that. So how do you serve baked ziti a smarter way? A way that turns the entire pasta into one crispy edge is you swap the baking dish for a sizzle platter. This is the new way to make baked ziti. This is sizzling meatball rigatoni.
So what, no fucking ziti now? Hey!
For me, ziti is a baked pasta that has ricotta in it. Beyond that, you could do kind of whatever you want. So I've got some whole milk ricotta. I'm gonna add that whole thing to a blender. We're just gonna whip it. Ricotta could be a bit grainy, so by just pureeing it and whipping it, we just create a nice smooth texture that we're gonna use throughout this dish. So we've got this, we're gonna use it a few times. And now we need to puree our tomatoes. We got our food mill, bowl, and I'm going with some beautiful Italian tomatoes today. Really nice, kind of earthy, minerally, acidic, slightly sweet. Just gonna squeeze some of the plum tomatoes just to help the food mill do its job. And then we're just gonna work it through. All the seeds and the skin are going to be held up while all the juice and the flesh gets pushed through the machine, essentially making a tomato passata. You could also use a bottle of that. Go through, clean out the bottom. It's where all the body of the sauce is, really. Then we're just gonna push through any of the last remaining bits. You don't have one of these, I highly recommend it. So now we have a nice tomato puree. It's got a lot of water in it though. It's really loose, so we're going to cook that down later, reduce it to a nice weekday sauce, but we're gonna need that for the meatballs. Here we got a pound of meat, 1/3 pound veal, 1/3 pound beef, 1/3 pound pork. To that, I'm gonna add an egg. Now the first step to my meatballs, it's more of a process thing. It's the egg and the meat marry with each other. I'm gonna break all that meat up and try and get every ounce of it coated in the egg. To me, that just creates the best consistency. And this method of meatballs, the way that I do it is basically designed around maximal and even distribution of flavors and texture. So now that I can see all that egg is soaked up by the meat, we can make that little slurry, I like to call it. Really just like a panade. You ever seen dried bread soaked in milk in Italy to make meatballs? That's what this is. So we got a bowl here. I'm gonna go in with some of my tomato sauce, maybe a tablespoon or 2. Healthy pinch of salt, tablespoon or 2 of our ricotta. Got Pecorino Romano cheese here grated. Pecorino, not Parmigiano. Key in meatballs. So I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup, equal amount of breadcrumbs, clove of garlic, grated on a microplane. Again, even distribution of that flavor. No harsh garlic bits. And 1 big one should be enough. 2 max, but don't go overboard with garlic. Then some chopped fresh parsley. Then all of those flavors that you might normally just throw into the meat, we're gonna now mix together with our hands. The other benefit is then you can now taste this without any egg in it, and it should be like way more powerful than you can eat alone, because all of that salt and all of that flavor is now gonna be used to flavor our meat. So now we're gonna take that and incorporate it into the meat and egg, and we should end up with perfect little meatballs. I wanna make sure all of that flavor is all over. Should smell like it's gonna be good. Now we're gonna make mini meatballs. The fastest way that I found to do that is to just kind of make it like a log. And I'm just gonna start to like pick little balls and throw them on there. Doesn't need to be even, it just needs to be more on the smaller side. We're basically just going to free up some portions and then go through and re-roll them into nice little mini meatballs. I don't know about you, but much as I love regular meatballs, mini meatballs, they kind of reign supreme in my book. I think the first time I made these, I made them with like a teaspoon or something. That's far too slow. Then I'll just go through and roll and then arrange them. Again, they don't have to be perfect. These smaller balls are way more rustic. That should be enough for the portion I'm making today. Now, if you watched my advanced pasta and meatballs video that I posted last year, you'll know the most important thing now is to let these marinate. At least 30 minutes, literally the longer the better. If you let this go for 4 hours, overnight, these get better. While those marinate, we can now get our weekday sauce started. Now I'm gonna get my saucier, and I'm gonna barely coat the bottom of the pan with some extra virgin olive oil. Then I'm gonna toss in the basil stem and the garlic, and I'm gonna allow that to slowly come up to temp and allow the garlic and basil flavor to infuse into the olive oil. That flavored olive oil in turn will flavor the tomatoes. Season them with a little bit of salt, and we're really looking to get some really light browning caramelization going on the garlic. Give them a flip. After a few minutes, we can remove the basil. And whenever you're adding tomatoes, you can't be scared when you add it. Add it all swiftly at once, and that should simmer the temperature of the pan. Season those tomatoes with some salt, then bring it up to a simmer, and we're gonna push this off to the side and let this reduce while we cook our meatballs. For those, I'm going to use a large nonstick pan, just to make my life a little bit easier. Again, we're gonna add a healthy amount of olive oil because I wanna shallow fry the meatballs and allow that to come up to temperature. Once it's hot, we can go ahead and test the oil with one meatball, and once we're confident it's hot enough, we can get them all into the pan. You wanna see the oil sizzling once they're added. Once they're in the pan, we're gonna even them out into one layer and then not move them for about 2 minutes and allow them to develop really dark caramelized color on that first side. Once you see that color develop, you can give them a toss. If some of them need a little hand with some tongs, you can flip them over, and then we're just trying to brown the other side. Once all those little mini meatballs are browned, they can get added to the sauce. And you gotta drain that fat. You can either pour it into a strainer over a bowl to separate the two, or you can carefully use a slotted spoon and start to just drain them and transfer them into the tomato sauce. We're just gonna get those stirred around and allow those to simmer and cook through, which should only take a couple minutes, and for that sauce to thicken and reduce to the right consistency. Now we got our cheeses. I've got a whole milk, low moisture, and dried out, cured fresh mozz. First up, I'm just gonna slice up the fresh mozz, and then we're just gonna dice it up. This is way too much. And then for the low moisture, I'm just gonna use the slicer and a box grater, and you get little pieces like that. Should be plenty. By now, our sauce is nicely reduced. See the difference in consistency? Sort of coats the meatballs. Let's taste it. Very nice. Those tomatoes, as opposed to like a California tomato, which are super sweet, you get a nice, pleasant, balanced acidity and sweetness to the Italian tomatoes. My ideal is a blend, but sometimes you don't need to make 3 cans worth of sauce. I got my oven preheating at 500 degrees. We're gonna start it off really hot, cook it for a few minutes just to get everything melty, and then we're gonna hit it with the broiler. Now you'd say if you're making this for 4 people, how are you gonna cook it on a sizzle platter, where you can cook 2 of them, or you could cook them on a sheet tray? Both of those things work. Before we throw it all together, since I'm making a smaller batch, I'm just gonna transfer the sauce and the meatballs out. Then I'm gonna finish my portion in this. Extract it only as much as I need from here. But now we can throw it all together. To our pot of boiling water, I'm gonna add some salt, and then I'm gonna drop the rigatoni in. And the rigatoni take about 12 minutes to cook al dente, so I'm gonna pull this out around 9 to 10 minutes. Beside that pot, I'm bringing back the saucier, and I'm going to just now add enough sauce as needed for the portion of pasta that I'm cooking, and I can save the rest. I forgot to take out the garlic. You can leave it in, you can remove it, it's up to you. Then we're just gonna wait for that pasta to cook. Again, we're going to be marrying it in the sauce for a few minutes and then baking it, so we want it to be a little bit under. Once the pasta is cooked for about 10 minutes, we're going to drain it and add it to the sauce, using a little bit of pasta water if needed and only if needed. Now we're gonna cook this in the sauce for another minute or 2. I really want the sauce and the pasta to marry with each other so that when I go and bake them, it's not just pasta sitting on top of a runny sauce. Then we can turn the heat off, allow the pasta to cool down, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add in about a half cup or so of the whipped ricotta. Then I'm gonna stir that in. That's gonna cool down the pasta. It's going to emulsify, and it's gonna add a creaminess and a lightness to the sauce. Then we can finish with a handful of grated Parmigiano Reggiano. And then we're gonna toss in a few pieces of the cubed mozzarella and a few pieces of the sliced low moisture mozzarella directly to the pasta and get it tossed. Now this pasta is ready to be placed on the sizzle platter and baked. We're just gonna get that onto the sizzle platter. Then we're just gonna start to dot it. Make sure some of that cheese touches the sizzle platter, crisps up, interchanging the different mozzarellas. You get different consistencies, different flavors. And we're also sort of ensuring we've got some blank areas for the pasta to get crisp. Hit it with a little olive oil. Some parm. Before it goes in, we're gonna add the rest of the ricotta to a piping bag. I'm gonna cut it down the middle. I'm gonna take those ends, tie it together. Gonna prep another bag with a tip. I'm gonna push that tip out. Then we're gonna cut the ricotta off. Oh. And then we're just gonna pop it into the bag. And then we're just gonna pipe little bits of ricotta, which we're gonna allow to bake, but then we're gonna finish some fresh, just so you've got both of those textures again. Then we're just gonna pop that into the oven at 500 degrees and allow it to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. While that cooks, we have some breadcrumbs here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of oil, olive oil. I'm just gonna mix that together and hydrate those breadcrumbs. We're gonna add these on in the final minute or two to get them nice and crisp. And then for garnish, I like to take the top pieces that come in like a little bundle, and then I got this nice little flower almost of basil. Now once all that cheese is beautiful and melty, then we're gonna switch it onto the broiler, start to get some browning and some caramelization happening. And once we're about a minute away, then we're just gonna hit it with the breadcrumbs. Give it another minute or so, let those breadcrumbs crisp up. Once everything's bubbly, browned, and crisp, we can get it out of the oven. Now I built it high so I get this gradient of darkness. I like some borderline burnt, others crisp, but as you can see, there's still some life left to some of the pasta that's charred. If you built this flatter, you get a more even browning, so you can kind of build it the way you want. Just gonna take one of these plates, put a little towel down on top of it. Sort of what I imagine a restaurant would do. So then we're gonna work on our color and just pop these in a few spots. Some fresh ricotta flavor throughout. Maybe pipe them in one of the rigatoni. Finish with some more fresh parm. That's a nice bite. Some crisp pasta, some steamed pasta, some crispy cheese, meatball. The reality is when you cook baked ziti or baked rigatoni in a baking dish, you're getting crisp on the outside, a little crisp on the side, and then steamed pasta underneath. This kind of reverses the script. Most of it is crisp and beautiful with a layer of perfectly cooked pasta underneath. I mean, that's kind of what you want to see happen. That's the ziti test. It's never-ending cheese. It's like your mouth is Spider-Man. As far as I'm concerned, if your baked rigatoni or if your baked ziti doesn't have mini meatballs in it, what are we doing? As always, the recipe for this is gonna be linked down in the description. I urge you to also check out our Patreon. We got some fun lessons over there, doing some in-depth chicken cutlets, some in-depth vongole recipes, and we got 2 new lessons every month. We do live streams. It's a lot of fun. Head on down to the description, check it all out. But that's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.